3 days before the D-Day, 1944, occupied France. In dusk, a barefoot boy in a wool cap walks the ditch line, balancing a dented milk pail. He looks 6, because he is 6. Marcel Pinte, codename Quinquin, son of a stationmaster turned maquis courier, is doing the one thing a German military leadership never suspects: delivering war. The pail is heavy not with milk but with a false bottom and 3 folded onionskin notes, each one an order that will cut a wire, stop a train, and buy the Allies the hours they need on a beach they haven't reached yet. The Germans have a problem, and they don't know it. Their solution to every threat is wait, more armor, more patrols, more lists. Panzer grenadiers in half-tracks patrol the Limousin lanes. The 2nd SS, Panzer Division Das Reich, is refueling around Montauban and Toulouse. Engines ready to move north. The 2nd, a radio says, Normandy. Their signal net depends on intact lines, Plan Violet's target. Their troop movements depend on rails and bridges, Plan Vert's target. Their counterattack depends on time. Time is what a child is about to steal. Marcel pads to a farmhouse wall and knocks twice, once, then twice again. An old woman lets him in and ladles pretend milk into the pail, while the false bottom slides free. The first note, written in his father's careful hand, was bound for a contact in Saint Leonard de Noblat. Violet cut the telegraph line at 4 a.m. Vert blow the railway tracks half an hour later. Confirm with 3 flashes of light. The 2nd is bound for the Maquis de Georges, outside Imoutiers. Explosive Party 2 shift to Bridge La Croisille. Delay charges only. Prime at 4:45. The 3rd is a time change from a British set keyed in a barn 2 valleys away. Synchronized 2H hour, 2 signals. Hold action until minute precise. Marcel repeats the clock, times out loud, because he can't read numbers fast yet. His father drilled him till the cadence stuck like a song. Back in the lane, a German Kubelwagen rattles past. A lancer in a sidecar stares at the little boy with the big pail and looks away. Of course he does. Children are furniture and occupation seen, stepped around, uncounted. Marcel keeps walking. Every footstep on the gravel, a metronome for Plan Vert and Plan Violet's choreography. Cut trunk lines exactly before first light orders move. Blow fishplates, just as night freights enter curves. Lay bridge scissor cuts that don't drop spans but force inspection teams to waste the one commodity a panzer division cannot buy back. Near Nexon, he ducks under a cattle gate and slides into a hayloft. 2 FFI runners, men with weeks-old beards, and Sten guns wrapped in burlap wait inside. Marcel tips the pail, retrieves the first onionskin, and points to his wooden toy soldier, where he's penciled 3 thick marks for 2, 4:10, 4:30. He taps them, in order, says the times out loud, and waits until both men say them back. No paper stays. The note goes into the stove. He rinses the pail, refits the false bottom, and is on the road again before the smoke finishes curling. His last delivery is the most dangerous. Cross the Vienne, near St. Priest-Torion. Skirt a Feldkommandantur checkpoint. Reach a linesman who wears a German-issued cap by day and a sapper's satchel by night. Marcel times the guard's cigarette breaks. He's watched them enough to know the 3rd man always looks toward the river. He darts when the match flares. 30 seconds later he's in the hedgerow, mud to his knees, hand on the stones that hide a coil of copper wire and 2 lengths of pre-cut rail fishplates. At midnight, in barns and culverts and cuttings across Haute-Vienne, watches are set to the same beat a 6-year-old carried in his head. At 2, lamps flash from ridge to ridge go soon. At 4:10, telegraph trunks go dead. At 4:30, bolts ping free, rails creep out of gauge. On June 4th, trains crawl or stop, dispatchers shout into silent handsets, and bridges wear unsafe chalk marks that demand engineers and hours. All this because a child walked a road with a milk pail and nobody asked what weighed so much inside. June 5th, 1944. Midnight over Limousin. The rain hasn't stopped in 2 days, and the entire countryside hums with secrets. Somewhere under that downpour, the Germans' lifelines, rail, wire, road, are being dissected with surgical precision. But none of it would be in rhythm without a 6-year-old boy with mud on his knees and a coded rhyme in his head. The Allied invasion fleet is already moving across the Channel, but the land war that will decide its fate is playing out here, 200 miles inland. British intelligence calls it preparatory disruption. The resistance calls it Plan Vert and Plan Violet. But in the hills east of Limoges, the men just call it Marcel's route. Marcel Pinte has become a phantom messenger. He isn't armed. He doesn't need to be. His small size makes him invisible, his curiosity a perfect disguise. When German patrols question him, he shrugs, shows them the crust of bread he's been chewing, and tells them he's fetching goats. They laugh. They never notice the wax-sealed note hidden in the hem of his jacket, or the precise way he steps between puddles to keep it dry. Inside those tiny notes are times, names, and detonator codes, numbers that align sabotage with the tides of Normandy. The British Special Operations Executive sends the orders by radio. The Maquis receive them on field sets, hidden in wells, disguised as feed barrels. Marcel carries them the last mile. That last mile is what no adult can risk. At 1:10, he leaves his family's farmhouse near Aix-sur-Vienne. The power is out. The Germans cut electricity after curfew to catch movement in lantern light. Marcel doesn't need light. He knows the forest by feel. The first message must reach a cell near Saint-Yrieix. 2 kilometers on foot, across a flooded stream, past a road where the Reich division parked half a dozen fuel trucks the night before. He slips between them, the smell of diesel thick enough to taste. The men around the trucks are smoking, joking, one humming a tune from Bremen. No one notices a child with a tin bucket climbing the bank. By 2, he reaches the edge of a field marked by 3 upright stones, his landmark. Beneath the middle stone is a tin box. He pulls it free, swaps the old message inside for the new one, and runs his fingers along the scratches his father carved into the stone, 3 vertical, 1 horizontal. The signal. Operation confirmed. Back on the road, he hears the rumble of engines, half-tracks, rolling toward Bellac. The Germans are moving north earlier than expected. Marcel freezes under a culvert, counting seconds. He knows the difference between the heavy clank of Panzer IVs and the smoother grind of trucks. These are trucks, 30 maybe, loaded with men. He waits until the last one passes, then crawls out, soaked and shivering. The mission isn't over. There's one more drop before dawn. At 3:30, he reaches an abandoned distillery near Nexon, now a forward command post for the Maquis de Georges. The partisans inside are exhausted, their boots caked in mud, their detonators spread on a work table like silver bones. When Marcel enters, no one speaks. He doesn't salute, he just walks to the oldest man, hands him the oilcloth packet, and says, 2 hours. The man kneels to his level, looks him in the eye, and nods. They don't waste words. Every second counts. That order, 2 hours, means synchronized sabotage across the department. It means that the telegraph lines will fall exactly 2 hours before the first Allied bombers hit the beaches. And it means that when the 2nd SS Panzer Division, Das Reich, tries to move north to crush the invasion, they will find every bridge wired, every rail split, every road mined. The orders that make all of that possible are now in motion because one small boy slipped through the rain. At dawn, Marcel returns home, his feet blue from the cold, his hands still clutching the empty bucket. His father waits by the stove, pretending to scold him for staying out. He pours him warm milk and asks quietly, "All done?" Marcel nods. They said 2 hours. Outside, church bells begin to ring in the mist. To the villagers, it's another morning in occupied France. To the Allies, it's the sound of a continent about to wake up. And to the Germans, it's the first warning that something is wrong, something invisible, untraceable, and 6 years old. June 6, 1944. Dawn. Normandy erupts. Allied paratroopers drop from black skies, naval guns hammer the coast, and radio networks across France explode into code phrases that sound like nonsense to anyone but those waiting for them. To the Maquis, those words mean war. To the Germans, it means chaos. And in a stone farmhouse south of Limoges, 6-year-old Marcel Pinte rubs the sleep from his eyes, puts on his father's old cap, and steps into the storm he helped start. He doesn't know the scale of it, no one in his valley does yet, but he understands his job isn't finished. The first notes carried before dawn have triggered demolitions and line cuts under Plan Vert and Plan Violet. Now the maquisards need confirmation that the work succeeded, so they can signal Allied command for the next phase. Plan Tortue, the turtle plan to slow German reinforcements. The Das Reich division, a hardened formation of SS armor and infantry stationed near Montauban, is already moving north. If it reaches Normandy intact, it could throw the entire invasion back into the sea. The Allies need 72 hours of delay. Marcel's Valley must provide part of that time. At 7:15, a young radio operator named Bernard-Luc Desmoulins cranks his bicycle generator and hears static. "Line's dead," he says, grinning. The sabotage worked, but the Germans will send engineers to fix it by noon. The resistance needs to know which lines they're repairing to sabotage them again. And only Marcel can get through. He's the only one who can walk past a roadblock without being searched. His father straps the small canvas satchel to his chest, disguised under his patched coat. Inside, a folded slip with the message, "Violet success, repeat cut D, 12D, 14 at 10. Marcel nods. He knows the path, the ditches, the mud. His bare feet leave no tracks on the wet road. 2 kilometers north, a convoy of the 2nd SS Panzer Division creeps along the Route Nationale, engines snarling in low gear. The men inside are exhausted. Their commander, SS Sturmbannführer Christian Tixon, is furious. Every rail line from Brive to Limoges is blown. They're burning diesel just to drive around wrecked bridges and trees felled by partisans. Reports say the Maquis are everywhere. In truth, the network that stopped an armored division is a web of farmers, priests, and children. Marcel walks right past them. His small form blends into the morning haze, a speck on the verge of the road. The Germans barely glance down. One soldier throws him a crust of bread. He thanks him in a perfect sing-song German learned from occupation soldiers. They laugh. One ruffles his hair. They have no idea he's carrying the order that will cripple their radio line again before noon. By 9:40, Marcel reaches the signal hut near St. Priest-Torion. 2 French saboteurs wait inside, crouched over a spread of telegraph wire and pliers. He delivers the slip, points to the hand-drawn clock his father made him memorize, and whispers, "At 10. They nod. At exactly 10, the first line is severed clean, quiet, surgical. Within minutes, 2 more follow. When the German field office in Limoges tries to send a message north, the telegraph operators hear only dead air. The engineers they dispatch to find the break never make it. The road they take collapses under them, the bridge already primed from Plan Vert 2 nights earlier. By noon, the entire communications grid between Limoges and Châteauroux is dark. In the afternoon, Allied planes roar overhead, heading east to hit the roads at Falaise. The Germans still don't know where the main landings are. Their commanders scream for orders. The radios are silent. The trains aren't moving. And down a dirt lane lined with poplars, Marcel Pinte skips home, humming. He passes a burned truck, 2 dead SS men sprawled in the ditch. He doesn't look. He's too used to it. When he reaches his farmhouse, his mother hugs him and checks his jacket for holes. His father asks only one question. "Did they see you?" Marcel shakes his head. At 17, a coded message from London comes through the field radio hidden in their cellar. Les lapins dansent. The rabbits are dancing. It's confirmation. The Limousin network's sabotage has delayed the 2nd SS Panzer Division by more than a day. That single day, multiplied across every region of France where Plan Vert and Plan Violet struck, will become the difference between disaster and the foothold at Omaha. Somewhere above, Allied paratroopers are regrouping behind the beaches, waiting for German armor that will never arrive on time. In Normandy, officers will later write that the delays saved the invasion. None of them will know that one link in that chain was a boy barely old enough for school, who slipped past tanks with orders folded in his pocket. To the Germans, the resistance seems like an organized army. In reality, it's a network, held together by instinct, desperation, and the courage of a child. That afternoon, as thunder rolls across the hills, Marcel sits on the farmhouse steps with his father's cap pulled low. The world is changing because of what he carried, and somewhere, in the confusion of the Reich's headquarters, no one can explain how an army was stopped by a ghost they never even saw. June 7th, 1944. The day after D-Day. Normandy is burning, but the Germans still don't know what's happening beyond their own silence. The 2nd SS Panzer Division, Das Reich, meant to crush the beachheads, is stuck in central France fighting not soldiers, but ghosts. Every time they fix a bridge, another collapses. Every time they repair a telegraph line, it dies again before they can send a single message. And every time their convoys move, they are ambushed. Behind much of that paralysis is a 6-year-old courier no one suspects. Marcel Pinte wakes to the sound of German trucks grinding up the hill toward his village. His father's face is grim. "They're searching houses," he whispers. "You stay in the cellar." Marcel shakes his head. "Papa, the bridge at Saint-Laurent," he says. "They need the message." It's true. The Maquis at Saint-Laurent are waiting for confirmation before destroying the span across the Isle River, a key crossing for German reinforcements moving north from Périgueux. The detonators are in place. The timing is critical. If the bridge goes too soon, civilians will die. If it goes too late, the panzer columns will make it through. Only one person can cross the German cordon without being stopped. His mother wraps the message inside a strip of cloth and sews it into the lining of his shirt. She kisses his forehead and tells him to run only when he hears the church bell ring 3 times. That's the signal the roadblock has changed shift. When the bells toll, Marcel bolts from the back garden, slips through an orchard, and into the ditch beside the road. The trucks are still there, engines idling, SS men shouting orders. He crawls on hands and knees, belly against the mud, until the village is behind him. His size, what the Germans call unbedeutend, insignificant, is his weapon. At 8:30, he reaches the stone culvert where the Maquis have hidden a field radio. The operator, code-named Reich, is pale from exhaustion. He takes one look at the boy and groans. "They're hunting couriers," he says. "You shouldn't be here." Marcel only points to his shirt. Reich cuts the seam open and pulls the note free. "St. Laurent Bridge delay detonation, wait until first column confirmed." The code beneath it, blue trois, means the explosives are live. The timer can't be reset. Reich swears, hands shaking. They have hours at most. Reich transmits to the St. Laurent team, but German jamming fills the air with static. "No contact," he mutters. Marcel looks at the map pinned to the wall, traces the river with his finger, then says, "I can go." Reich stares at him. "That's 20 kilometers." The boy just shrugs. "I know the paths." He leaves before the man can stop him. The forest swallows him whole. He crosses fields, streams, the blackened remains of a burned farm where the 2nd SS had executed villagers 2 days earlier. He doesn't slow down. By midday, he reaches the ridge above St. Laurent and sees it, the narrow bridge. One truck already halfway across, the rest of the convoy waiting. He's too late. He runs downhill, waving his arms, shouting in patois, Stop! Trop tôt! Too soon! The Maquis guards at the detonator hut see a blur of mud-covered limbs, then recognize him. They yank the firing wire just in time. The bridge shakes but doesn't collapse. The first truck halts in confusion. Then the German column behind it jams the road, engines stalling. For 30 minutes, the entire formation is frozen, blocking its own route while Maquis sappers scramble to reset the charges. At 13:45, as the last half-track begins to back away, the new signal comes. Bleu quatre. Marcel covers his ears. The explosion rips the air in two. The bridge folds into the river, taking 3 trucks and half a company with it. Smoke rolls over the valley. The delay is absolute. The Das Reich division will have to find another crossing, 40 miles east. The Maquis commander kneels beside the boy, eyes wide. "You saved them," he says. Marcel just shakes his head. Papa said, "Wait for the bell." That night, Allied headquarters in London intercepts German reports from Limoges. Road to Périgueux, impassable. Bridge destroyed. Enemy sabotage widespread. Progress impossible before 48 hours. 48 hours, 2 days more for the beaches to hold. 2 days bought by a 6-year-old who ran through a net of killers with a message sewn into his shirt. By the time Marcel returns home, the village is dark. The Germans have left to chase shadows. His father meets him at the door, his face drawn tight with pride and fear. Marcel doesn't say a word. He just hands his mother the torn bit of cloth that once hid the note. She sews it back together while outside. The thunder of distant artillery rumbles north, the sound of a front that is finally breaking. The next morning, the resistance radio crackles with a new message from London. Lignes Vert et Violet. Success total. Plan Vert and Plan Violet have succeeded. The German rail network in western France is shattered. The Das Reich division will arrive in Normandy too late. And somewhere in the quiet of the Limousin woods, a little boy sleeps through the night for the first time in weeks, unaware that history has just shifted because of the weight of a scrap of paper and a child's courage. June 8, 1944. The Limousin region smells of diesel, smoke, and rain. German columns burn fuel faster than they advance. Every kilometer north is a battle. Trees lie across roads, rails bend like wire, telegraphs hang dead from poles. To the Germans, it feels like witchcraft. An invisible army sabotaging everything at once. In truth, the web of destruction is held together by one thread. A 6-year-old boy who knows the fields better than any map. Marcel Pinte wakes before sunrise. His father's eyes are red from no sleep. On the table lies a British-coded sheet from the SOE. It's a new directive, relayed through their hidden radio. Initiate Tortue, slow enemy armor. The Turtle Plan. Every road that can carry tanks must be blocked, mined, or destroyed. Every delay counts. Marcel tugs his jacket on and waits for his father's nod. He doesn't ask why. He never does. The target today is the bridge at Mons, where engineers from the 2nd SS Panzer Division are trying to repair a crossing the Maquis blew 2 nights earlier. They've surrounded it with guards, machine guns, and sentries. The resistance can't get close, but Marcel can. He's seen the Germans many times, big men with black boots and bored faces. They think he's the postmaster's son. Sometimes they toss him candy. Today, he plans to deliver something different. At 7:10, he walks down the lane carrying a basket of eggs. The guards barely glance at him. He waves cheerfully, crosses the bridge, and sits by the embankment pretending to watch frogs. No one notices him loosen the waxed paper under the eggs and slide a small, folded map under a rock at the far end of the bridge. That map marks the new German defenses, the number of vehicles, and where they've parked their repair trucks. It will tell the Maquis exactly where to strike when darkness falls. By 9, Marcel is gone, and the Germans keep working, unaware that their fate is drawn in pencil 20 meters away. At 10:15, a German convoy halts in the nearby village. The soldiers start checking houses, searching for radios and weapons. Marcel's home is one of them. His mother hides the small transmitter in the bread oven. His father hands over his work papers with steady hands. When the Germans leave, Marcel whispers, "They'll come back." His father nods. "Then we must finish first." All afternoon, resistance fighters move silently into position along the riverbank. They use the map Marcel planted. Each circle, each number he remembered, now becomes a firing point. At dusk, the Maquis attack. The first burst of Sten fire cuts down the sentries. The second wave of explosions collapses the half-repaired bridge in a shower of steel and water. German return fire fills the air, but it's too late. Within minutes, every truck and supply cart on the riverbank burns. When the smoke clears, the road north is gone again. The entire Das Reich column, hundreds of vehicles, has to reroute east through winding forest roads too narrow for their panthers and tigers. Some bog down, others break down. The division loses another day. The next morning, Allied reconnaissance planes photograph the wreckage. The report goes to Chef headquarters. Enemy movement south of Limoges halted. Bridges destroyed. Delay estimate, 36 hours. In Normandy, where men fight yard by yard for every hedgerow, 36 hours is life itself. That night, as the Maquis count their dead and the last fires burn along the Vienne, Marcel sits by the farmhouse door, rubbing mud from his bare feet. His father joins him. "Do you know what you did?" he asks quietly. Marcel shrugs. "I ran errands." His father smiles faintly. "Yes, errands." In occupied Limousin, the Germans begin to realize something is wrong. Reports pour in from patrols, lines cut, roads mined, bridges down. Commanders curse the Maquis, but their maps don't make sense. How can such precision exist in a network of farmers and children? They assume British officers are directing it from the sky. They are half right, the sky sends orders, but it's a child who carries them the last mile. By June 9th, the 2nd SS Panzer Division is trapped in its own rear area, stranded between blown crossings. Piper's Kampfgruppe tries to push through but burns half its fuel in detours. Tanks crawl at walking speed. Motorized infantry ride bicycles and stolen carts. The mightiest armored division in France has been reduced to a parade of ghosts. Somewhere in that confusion, near the ruins of Mons, an SS major inspects the bridge and finds a piece of paper wedged under a stone. It's half-soaked, barely legible. But one word still reads clear: Tortue. He stares at it, frowning. "A child's handwriting," he says. He doesn't know how right he is. August 19th, 1944. The Germans are in retreat. Limoges has risen. Columns of resistance fighters march openly now, tricolor armbands flashing where they once hid. The 2nd SS Panzer Division, Das Reich, crippled by sabotage and ambush, is fleeing north in fragments. Allied forces are pushing through Normandy and across France. The war, at least here, is nearly over. And in the hills near Aix-sur-Vienne, a 6-year-old boy who has carried more messages than most men have fired bullets is running through the morning fog, laughing. Marcel Pinte has become a legend among the Maquis. The Petit Bleu, they call him the Little Blue, after the color of his coded dispatches. British liaison officers shake their heads when they hear the stories. A child who walked through roadblocks, memorized code phrases, and delivered timing orders that delayed an entire SS division. It sounds like a fairy tale. But every fighter in the Haute-Vienne knows it's true. They've seen him, they've trusted him,